People like John told them to keep quiet.
But see, that's the whole thing. These people were following him everywhere he was going, tapping his phones and stuff, right? So
and the minister was jealous of him.
Right.
Yeah, so he had both sides against him.
Right. That goes back to the Willie Lynch letter.
Exactly.
Having like crabs in a barrel, they pulling each other down, right? So the thing is this: this system, I'm telling you, this is a very devious system, and it's super devious because Shaitan is the head of it. He is the whisperer into the minds of men that helps them come up with these ideas and do these things. All right? But I want you to see this. Let me show you this real quick because we were talking about race. All right? What did Jane Elliott say? Jane Elliott said,
1945, California's Sonoma State home. Charlie Follett, a 14-year-old ward, is singing in a field when he's ordered inside.
First, he shot me with some kind of medicine, supposed to deaden my nerves. Then the next thing I heard was snip, snip, and that was it.
Did they tell you what they were doing to you?
No.
They didn't have to tell him. He knew. A sterilization by force. How did you know what it was?
Well, because see, there's been others in there that had it before me.
The other boys at the home had warned him how much it would hurt.
Well, when they done this side here, it seemed like they were pulling the whole insides out.
The 1930s through the 1950s were the heyday of the eugenics movement in the United States. The goal, to rid the country of the feeble-minded, defectives. And it wasn't some fringe or secretive program. It was well known.
look at that. Epilepsy, criminality, insanity, alcoholism.
Pauperism.
But these are the reasons why they were sterilizing these people.
For by the states where it was...
Look at this. Some people are born to be a burden on the rest. Right?
Entire families labeled shiftless, degenerates. 60,000 men and women, boys and girls, sterilized. Some living at home, others...
They're not black. These people aren't black. Right? Alcoholism. They snipping people with alcoholism. Okay?
in state institutions. His parents were alcoholics and couldn't care for him and his sister. 32 states had eugenics programs, but California was in a league of its own. The Golden State sterilized 20,000 people, more than twice as many as the next state, Virginia, and a full third of the nation's total. It was led by California's elite, including, at the time, the president of Stanford University and the publisher of the Los Angeles Times. The efficiency of California's program didn't go unnoticed. In the 1930s, the Nazi Party in Germany was so impressed it asked for advice, and Californians leading the program were only too happy to help. So eugenicists in California sent this book to the Nazis.
Yes, they did.
So the Nazis used this book as a model for their sterilization program.
Absolutely. Germany used California's program as its chief example that this was a working, successful policy.
California, the leader in forced sterilizations, but decades later, not a leader in making amends to victims. A few hundred survivors are still alive by one scholar's estimate, but the state has offered no reparations. Follett's tried for years, but says he can't even get a politician to talk to him, not even his own state representative, who also refused an interview request from CNN. His friend, Rudy Van Lissen, a nursing student, shows me letters he's written to no avail on Follett's behalf.
Do you think the state of California just wants to forget about this, forget it ever happened?
Honestly, I think they're just waiting. I mean, I hate to sound so cynical. I think they're just waiting for the victims to die and forget this whole thing ever happened.
Compare that chilly response.
I see Kamala Harris' name on the one who's running for president. But she's Kamala is a rotten little snail. A surfer named Moore.
Wow.
To the state of North Carolina.
The state of North Carolina is a partner with you in trying to bring awareness.
Governor Bev Perdue has invited sterilization victims to the Capitol, heard their stories, apologized personally, set up a task force to help them, and recommended that each victim receive $50,000 in reparations.
So this is something you can't even put a price on.
Right.
Oh, 50,000. Here, take this 50,000.
That's nothing.
It's not enough.
Yeah, you gonna do with that?
Yeah, it's not.
California, just a statement of apology by Governor Gray Davis in 2003, saying it was a sad and regrettable chapter in the state's history, and it is one that must never be repeated again. An apology from the governor, is that enough?
No, it's a start, but it's only a start. These people deserve to be compensated, just like any other victim that has had their rights violated.
Where does all this leave Follett? He's 82, recovering from lung cancer, and hoping justice will come before he dies.
You know, Elizabeth, your reporting of this has been incredible because I really had no idea this was so widespread. 60,000 Americans forcibly sterilized. Do you know how many of those people are still alive?
You know, it's not known because except in North Carolina, Anderson, people aren't really reaching out and trying to keep track of how many victims there are. So, for example, as we said in California, one scholar thinks there's a few hundred who are still alive, but no one really knows for sure.
Aside from that statement by the former Governor Gray Davis of California, have any other officials there acknowledged what happened?
You know, Anderson, we have spent the past few weeks calling and emailing politicians in California, and the silence has been astonishing.
They told them to be silent.
No, of course.
Yeah.
That's right.
But this is how the system works. If you control the media, then they'll try to make it so that nobody really knows about these things.
Yeah.
Okay? But now,
1945.
this, because I want to show you just how far this goes. All right? Because now the female inmates are being sterilized illegally in California. But this is something from video game. Watch this. This is from a video game. Very popular video game that kids play.
Not that.
It's called Red Dead Redemption.
Full of my pamphlets. I explain the exact difference between the races using real science. I want you to ask yourself, do I consider myself pure? And then I want you to ask yourself, what is the most disgusting, revolting, vulgar, and depressing thing in all creation? Mingling. Co-mingling. Nature likes purity. Nature does not like co-mingling. Nature likes a family tree, not a family bush. And this being America, and us being nature's paradise on earth, we must push for purity.
Think about little white kids
They're on a video game.
Playing this game, thinking.
Yeah, shape their minds young.
Right?
Is that a recent game?
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is a recent game. This came out earlier this year, I think. Earlier this year. But see, the thing is that here we go, not watching what our children are doing, not observing what they're doing. So now, your child sitting there playing this game, and all of this stuff is being said. They talk about eugenics in this game. Okay? But now watch.
That's deep.
I need you to be pure.
Morning to you.
You, sir, do you want a pamphlet?
Okay.
Read it. Really interesting stuff. I explain, using real science, why we whites are under attack and what we must do.
Video game, huh? What game is that?
Yes, under attack. People aren't the same, sir. I mean, white people are the same. And all the other races are trying to kill us. I don't want to die, sir.
The main one's killing everybody all around the world.
White child living in a
Get out of here.
supported family.
A white kid with a rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Go kill everybody.
Yeah.
But it's programming. You see what I'm saying? This is the programming that they're doing. All right? You have no idea. You buy a video game for your child. Here, go ahead and play.
And a lot of
play
times the
game.
kids got headphones on when they're
headphones
playing the
on.
game, so you don't know what they're saying on there.
Exactly.
And no black person had spoken out against the company or anything. I mean,
People don't even know. They probably haven't even.
People don't know. And the thing is that, and they probably wouldn't even care. That's the deep thing. Because they lulled us to sleep.
Wow.
No activism anymore. Because we're too like this. Television, all the various forms of entertainment. And Allah told you, He said the life of this world is nothing but amusement and play. And that, when you look it up in the dictionary, entertainment. You gotta make the connections.
I can't believe this.
You gotta make the wait a minute, we ain't finished.
Got more.
We still got a little bit more.
This is marketing.
I got friends who's Mexican, friends who's Indian, known blacks, Irish, Italians, good and bad and all. I've known good white people and bad white people. And above all, dumb white people.
So now they have his character trying to, it's the Hegelian dialectic.
Mm-hmm. Two points of view.
Yeah, all right. Remember, we talk about this is the stuff they use all the time. Go ahead.
And when did the term white come into being in this country?
Not too sure.
Yeah. The people
But see,
people were from wherever they were from.
But see, the thing is this. A lot of whites are opposed to that word. They want to be called Caucasians,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting too, because they can blankly say, "Oh, black people," but they don't want to be called white people. See what I'm saying?
Right,
so it's
right.
like, but watch this. Here we go. Let's see what his reply is.
You're a real fool. How can you possibly believe in equality? I've never heard such nonsense in all my natural-born days. This man believes people are equal. Speak for yourself, sir. Speak for yourself.
I'm sorry, you just called me a fool?
A fool! A fool! A fool!
Come here!
Someone help me!
Toothpicks.
Hey, move it!
What to do? Go away!
Yeah, but the damage is done already. The kids didn't hurt.
Oh my Lord!
Like you said, the illusions are becoming more and more sophisticated. Okay? These games that they're creating, more and more sophisticated each year. They're getting better and better in terms of the quality and the realism. Now they have the virtual thing when you put it on your head and then you're in there.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, and you'll have the effect. Like you actually get sick playing the game, yeah. Because it's playing with your senses that much. It's playing with your senses that much. Okay.
Go! I'm asking your man to be.
Look out, mister.
God damn it!
See if he catch you. This boy going. Oh man.
Yeah. Well, he gonna stop.
Got him.
Christ, oh, son of a bitch!
Is that insult to injury?
Oh, goodness.
But this is the type of stuff that children are consuming. People have no idea of what they are consuming and how that's affecting their minds. Okay? Because, like I said, these things are becoming the educators of our children, the teachers of our children.
Right. It used to be grandmom and grandpop or something, you know, mom and dad.
Right.
You know.
But
now it's this.
Right. But now, I want you to see this. Because the sister was talking about this last time, but I said I would bring it. But this, how many people knew there was a swine flu scare in 1976? 1976. Anybody remember that?
Oh.
You remember it? Yeah. All right. But now
76.
Watch this, because this is very interesting. All right. This was a piece that 60 Minutes did on this. All right. Here we go.
The flu season is upon us. Which type will we worry about this year? And what kind of shots will we be told to take? Remember the swine flu scare of 1976? That was the year the U.S. government told us all that swine flu could turn out to be a killer that could spread across the nation. And Washington decided that every man, woman, and child in the nation should get a shot to prevent a nationwide outbreak, a pandemic. Well, 46 million of us obediently took the shot. And now 4,000 Americans are claiming damages from Uncle Sam amounting to $3.5 billion because of what happened when they took that shot. By far the greatest number of the claims, 2/3 of them, are for neurological damage or even death, allegedly triggered by the flu shot. We picked up the story back in 1976 when the threat posed by the swine flu virus seemed very real indeed.
Now, what do they call it now? Huh?
They changed it to a number,
right? They call it
H1N1 or something?
H1N1. Right. Because they didn't want the people to associate it with this.
Oh.
They were calling swine flu first. They said, oh no, let's start calling it H1N1. Because they wanted to take your mind away from this. Alright, here we go, watch.
This virus was the cause of a pandemic in 1918 and 1919 that resulted in over 500,000 deaths in the United States, as well as 20 million deaths around the world.
See how easy it is to... Thus, the U.S. government's publicity machine was cranked into action to urge all America to protect itself against the swine flu menace.
Influenza is serious business. During major flu epidemics, millions of people are sick and thousands die. Well, this year you can get protection. The vaccines are safe, easy to take, and they can protect you against flu. So roll up your sleeve. Protect yourself.
One of those who did roll up her sleeve was Judy Roberts. She was perfectly healthy, an active woman, when in November of 1976, she took her shot. 2 weeks later, she says, she began to feel a numbness starting up her legs.
I joked about it that time. I said, I'll be numb to the knees by Friday as if this keeps up. By the following week, I was totally paralyzed.
So completely paralyzed, in fact, that they had to operate on her to enable her to breathe. And for 6 months, Judy Roberts was a quadriplegic. The diagnosis? A neurological disorder called Guillain-Barré syndrome, GBS for short. These neurological diseases are little understood. They affect people in different ways. As you can see in these home movies taken by a friend, Judy Roberts' paralysis confined her mostly to a wheelchair for over a year. But this disease can even kill. Indeed, there are 300 claims now pending from the families of GBS victims who died, allegedly as a result of the swine flu shot.
But now they don't want you to question these vaccines. Now they want to force you to have your child get these vaccines. Insane. Insane. These people are insane. Crazy.
Other GBS victims, the crippling effects diminish and all but disappear. But for Judy Roberts, progress back to good health has been painful and partial. Now, I notice that your smile, Judy, is a little bit constricted.
Yes, it is.
Is it different from what it used to be?
Very different. I have a greatly decreased mobility in my lips. And I can't drink through a straw on the right-hand side. I can't blow out birthday candles. I don't whistle anymore, for which my husband is grateful.
It may be a little difficult for you to answer this question, but have you recovered as much as you are going to recover?
Yes, this is it.
So you will now have a legacy of braces on your legs for the rest of your life?
Yes, the weakness in my hands will stay, and the leg braces will stay.
So Judy Roberts and her husband have filed a claim against the U.S. government. They're asking $12 million, though they don't expect to get nearly that much. Judy, why did you take the flu shot?
I'd never taken any other flu shots, but I felt like this was going to be a major epidemic. And the only way to prevent a major epidemic of a really deadly variety of flu was for everybody to be immunized.
How did they convince her there was only a deadly epidemic? What did they use? The media. They had those commercials, the news stories. This is what they do. That's what it is. It's to program you and indoctrinate you to follow and do what they say. Just like we had the woman that says, you know, it's our job to tell you what to believe. It's our job to tell you what to think. Right? Go ahead, sister.
And I remember in the 80s, and in the hospital, because I was respiratory therapist, we had a lot of patients come in with feeling right.
Wow. 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 That's interesting. But now watch this, because as the story goes on, it's going to get deeper. Watch.
Where did this so-called deadly variety of flu, where did it first hit back in 1976? It began right here at Fort Dix in New Jersey in January of that year, when a number of recruits began to complain of respiratory illness, something like the common cold. An Army doctor here sent samples of their throat cultures to the New Jersey Public Health Lab to find out just what kind of bug was going around here. One of those samples was from a Private David Lewis who had left his sickbed to go on a forced march. Private Lewis had collapsed on that march, and his sergeant had revived him by mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. But the sergeant showed no signs of illness. A few days later, Private Lewis died.
If this disease is so potentially fatal that it's going to kill a young, healthy man, a middle-aged school teacher doesn't have prayer.
The New Jersey lab identified most of those soldiers' throat cultures as the normal kind of flu virus going around that year, but they could not make out what kind of virus was in the culture from the dead soldier and from 4 others who were sick. So they sent those cultures to the Federal Center for Disease Control in Atlanta, Georgia for further study.
So the recording messed up on us. So we're gonna have to, I'm gonna show y'all this, continue this next time. Go ahead.
When they mentioned that the epidemic after World War I in 1918 and 1919, and they always suspected, or they always said that the soldiers from Europe brought it here, the returning soldiers, and one of the places that was the hardest hit was here in Philadelphia.
Right. But now you got to think about this also. When you join the military, they own you, and they can experiment on you if they want to. They can give you vaccines or whatever.
Put in the food.
Right. That's what, like when they had the guys, they had detonated a nuclear bomb, and they had soldiers not far off away from it, just to see what the effects would be. So this is the type of stuff that is being done. But they own you. When you sign that, you're owned.
So they did that purposely. They had them observe it.
Yeah.
Put in place.
So that's the thing. It was funny because, you know, my father always said that, you know, military isn't for no like me, right? That's what he would say, especially because he came up that era where Muhammad Ali refused to go. He said, wait, these people ain't do nothing to me. You're not calling me nigga and all of this stuff. They didn't do anything to me. there's also a movie called Boys in the Hood. And the father was a barber. And he was talking to his son and his friends, and he was telling them the same thing. You know, the military isn't really for us. You know, because they brainwash you, and like I said, you sign yourself over to them. They own you. All right? But that's, because I definitely want to come back with that. But the sister has said something. You said something about the people and what kind of mind would do that, or how they would allow. Right.
Kind of conscious mind would do that. Satanic mind.
Oh no, well, watch, because now, like I said, things, when you start putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and you start to see things. This is one of your favorite clips.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the movie.
Is there a rear window?
This is from the old Alfred Hitchcock movie, The Rope.
Wow.
And like I said, I show this to people sometimes, but they don't see the deepness of what's being said here. It's powerful. But watch, here we go.
All over? I'm afraid so, Rupert. Oh, what a pity. In another moment you might have been...
So this clip is called Murder is for a Privileged Few. Murder is for a privileged few, right?
each other instead of a chicken.
Mr. Goodell, really?
Oh, but a man's honor was at stake. And personally, I think a chicken is as good a reason for murder as a blonde, a mattress full of dollar bills, or any of the customary unimaginative reasons.
Well, now, you don't really approve of murder, Rupert, if I may.
You may, and I do. Think of the problems it would solve. Unemployment, poverty, standing in line for theater tickets.
Standing in line for theater tickets.
Yeah, right?
Had a perfectly dreadful time getting tickets for that new musical. What's it called? You know.
The something with what's her name? My dear Miss Atwater, careful application of the trigger finger and a pair of seats in the first row is yours for the shooting. And have you had any difficulty in getting into our Velvet Rope restaurant?
Frightful.
A very simple matter. A flick of the knife, madame, and if you'll kindly step this way, step over the head waiter's body. Thank you. And here's your table.
Rupert, you're the end.
As a hotel clerk, I could cheerfully flick a knife at. Oh, no, sorry. Knives may not be used on hotel employees. They are in the death by slow torture category.
Oh.
Along with bird lovers, small children, and tap dancers. Landlords, of course, are another matter. You're seeking an apartment? Call on our Miss Sashwaite of the Blunt Instrument Department.
Wasn't it a fine idea? If it suits your purpose, merely. But then we'd all be murdering each other.
Oh, no. Oh, no. After all, murder is, or should be, an art. Not one of the 7 lively, perhaps, but an art.
Murder should be an art. So think about it. When you think about genocide, these genocides are an art form, basically. We had AIDS put into Africa and then blamed it on